Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Liu. I am a mental fitness coach. Thank you so much for joining me for this video where I share with you tips and tools on how to improve your mental fitness. Today, I want to share a topic that gets brought up the most frequently by my coaching clients, which is this desire to advance to the next career level. And I'm going to show you how mental fitness can help you. And you might be able to relate to this at one point or another in your career that you want to get promoted or get to the next advancement level. And you want to know how to do that. And maybe you've been in a situation where you've been wanting to advance for a while and you haven't been able to do so. And perhaps you're feeling a little bit frustrated, a little bit down on yourself. And I can totally empathize with that because I totally understand how frustrating it might be if you've been wanting something for a while and you feel like you're working really hard towards it and you haven't been able to get there. And actually, I'm coaching a client right now who is in that situation where he's had over 10 years of work experience, really good work experience in all the biggest tech companies out there. And he's been working really hard and has had a good track record and has even had a few leadership and management opportunities here and there. But right now, he feels like he's a bit stuck in this individual contributor role and wants to advance to the next manager and leadership role. And so he's feeling frustrated. And as much as he would like to have a positive mindset, he's finding himself in this mindset of feeling down on himself and almost sometimes feeling a little bit of self-pity and almost this enviousness of other people of being able to get there and he's not able to get there. So you might be able to relate to some of these feelings. And so I would like to talk about what are some ways that we can use mental fitness to help you through this very challenging scenario. So first, I want to, just share that these feelings that you're having, whether it's frustration, whether it's disappointment or anger, or self-doubt, self-pity, these are all very natural. These are part of being human. We have these negative emotions, especially when we feel like there's a setback or a challenge in life. And while it's important to recognize these feelings and give them space, it is not, I hope you can agree, it's not that useful to be dwelling in these emotions, these negative emotions, for a long period of time. Because when we do so, we deprive ourselves of the ability to get into that powerful part of us to come up with solutions, to think of ways of how can we get to where we want to get to, rather than dwelling in this negative space and just feeling bad, right? So that's what I want to talk about, and how mental fitness can help with that. So, like with any challenge, I talked about it in the previous video, we can kind of use this three-step approach when it comes to mental fitness. And this is using the framework of positive intelligence. This is developed by Shirzad Shamin. And these three steps are: first, basically recognize that these negative emotions are coming from saboteurs. So intercept the saboteur. Second is to do some PQ reps, which are these mindfulness exercises to calm down those saboteurs. And then third is to shift into your sage, or that most powerful part of you, so that you can use these sage powers and use the sage perspective to help you through this challenge. Now let's go one step at a time. So the first step, which is to intercept that saboteur. So when you're feeling these negative feelings, such as frustration, disappointment, maybe anger, self-doubt, self-pity, these are probably some of the most frequent ones that come up in this situation when you feel like you haven't been able to get promoted or being able to advance, is to recognize that these emotions are actually coming from your saboteurs. So, not coming from your sage, which is that true and powerful part of you. And so, first of all, label them as saboteurs and maybe even get a little bit curious about which saboteur it might be. So, in the last video, I talked about the judge saboteur and that being the master saboteur. And I have some previous videos that talk more in depth about this saboteur. Is so that judge saboteur, generally whenever you're feeling any negative emotion, there's probably the judge in there somewhere. And so the judge judges three things: it judges yourself, judges others, and also judges circumstances and situations. So in this case, the judge might be judging the circumstance or the situation, saying, the fact that I haven't been able to get promoted or I haven't been able to advance to the next level is a bad thing, right? That's what the judge is saying. And you might be feeling like that's the truth. How can that be anything else, right? How can it not be bad? But from a sage perspective, there is no such thing as good or bad. And I have a previous video about the sage perspective where I tell the stallion story and the farmer saying, who knows what is good and bad. And so the sage basically doesn't say anything is good or bad, but rather says that anything can be a gift and opportunity. So even though on the surface, maybe it looks quote unquote bad, there could be a gift in there somewhere, or there could be an opportunity in there somewhere, maybe a learning or something that good about this seemingly bad situation. Right. So recognizing that it might be the judge that is saying that this is a bad situation. And then maybe the judge is also judging yourself, right? Judging yourself as being not good enough, yourself having done something wrong and feeling down about yourself for not having achieved a certain level. And then maybe this judging others is to look at other people who have been promoted and who have been able to advance very quickly and getting envious about them and comparing yourself to them and feeling bad about yourself. So, and I'm not saying it's not a good thing to look at other people. I think it can be a very useful exercise. For example, if you're wanting to get somewhere, right, to get this promotion, and you see these other people who have been promoted, it's actually quite useful to see what they have done to get to that promotion and learn from them. And that approach, that would actually be the sage approach, whereas the saboteur is only looking at these other people getting promoted and therefore feeling bad about yourself or feeling jealousy at them. And so, these are the emotions that are coming from the judge that are not very useful. And I hope you agree with that. All right, so that's the first step, is to label these as saboteur. Oh, and so that's the judge saboteur. And there might be other saboteurs that are in the mix that are creating some of these negative emotions. And another common one that comes up a lot when it comes to this career advancement is this hyperachiever saboteur. And this is one of the most common saboteurs that I see in very high achieving, very successful, highly driven professionals. And this saboteur, what it looks like is that it tells you that you can only be happy when you keep on achieving. And you cannot be happy if you haven't gotten to the next level. Right? So just check with yourself to see if you have a little bit of that mindset, right, that says, I'll be happy when I get this promotion. And right now, because I don't have this promotion, my current situation is not worthy of being happy about. Or perhaps you're tying your self-worth to this promotion. Like, I'll feel worthy when I get this promotion, and I don't feel worthy right now. And maybe for you, it's not using these exact words or using such such language, or maybe it's not so strong, but just check whether there's some element of that in there, and just be curious about perhaps this is that hyperachiever saboteur. And by the way, you can take a saboteur assessment. So I will put a link down below, and I've linked it in some of my previous videos. And it's just less than 5 minutes, and it tells you which out of the 9 accomplice saboteurs you have. The judge is not in there because it's already assumed that we all have the judge, but some of these other saboteurs, it doesn't show up for us all the same. So most of the time we have 1 to 3 that are quite high on the top that come in and sabotage us on a regular basis. And another saboteur that could be quite prevalent in this case that I see a lot is this victim saboteur. Whether you have it very high normally or not, but it might show up in this case in the form of self-pity, like feeling like, oh, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Why me? Why do I never get promoted? Why do I never, get the good things? Right? Why do all these other people get in and I don't, right? Any form of this kind of thinking might be that victim saboteur at play, right? So these are, and all the 10 saboteurs can show up in this case, but these are just some of the most common ones that I see for this scenario when it comes to promotion and advancement, right? And so that's recognizing the saboteur. That's the first step. And I find this step to be really empowering, and it's a step that a lot of people don't do. And I myself have, it's been life-changing for me to be able to recognize my own negative emotions and label them as saboteur rather than thinking that this is my true self, because that's simply not true. My true self doesn't have these negative feelings. My true self only feels the positive emotions. And so disconnecting these negative feelings from your true self, I find to be very helpful. And I hope you'll find it helpful as well. But it is not enough, because, just because we recognize it's a saboteur, then we have to say, what do we do about it? Right? Then the next step is to do some PQ reps. So that's the second step, to do some PQ reps, which are these 10-second mindfulness exercises that helps you to calm down the saboteurs in a particular part of your brain. So we've talked about the saboteurs sit in a very specific part of the brain, which is more the old brain. So it's the limbic system, the brain stem, and more part of the left brain. And so these 10-second exercises helps you to calm these saboteurs down in those parts of the brain. And these exercises could be focusing on breathing, focusing on touch, could be focusing on a body sensation, could be listening to a sound, and could be looking at a visual. So any of these, when you do it 10 seconds at a time, it really helps you to calm down those saboteurs. And when those saboteurs are calmed down, that's how you're able to shift to your sage, or your true self, your most powerful self. And you're able to access those 5 sage powers, which I'll go through each one by one a little bit, and then also can help you to access that sage perspective, which we talked about, which is saying that anything that happens could be a gift and opportunity, right? This saying of, hey, who knows what is good and what is bad, and recognizing that there could be something good or some learning or some gifts that comes out of any situation. So in this case, for example, of if you haven't been promoted yet or haven't been able to get that advancement yet, hey, what could be the gift here? And I know perhaps if you are still very much in your saboteur and feeling those negative feelings, maybe it's very difficult for you to think of any gift that is coming out of that situation. And that's okay. If that's the case, do some more PQ reps, get yourself more in that calm state of mind, and then come back and see whether there could be any gift. And, it's just some of the possible gifts that I can think of is, has this, because you haven't been promoted, has it given you the opportunity to maybe hone in on some skills and get really good at those skills? Or has it given you the opportunity to maybe focus on your family or other aspects of your life? Or the fact that you haven't been promoted for this long, is it inspiring you or really motivating you to build certain skills to really allow you to do this, such as, really standing up for yourself, being proactive, maybe learning some skills from other people, right? Those people who do get promoted, learn from them, maybe gives you an opportunity to actually reach out to them and connect with them and get even closer because you're learning from them, right? These are just some possibilities. Or perhaps, is it giving you an opportunity to do that business that you've always been wanting to do but haven't had time to do yet? Or is it giving you an opportunity to seek out a different company or even a different industry, right? Because of the situation that you're in now. See, these are just some possibilities, and there could be hundreds more for your situation. But I just wanted to get you to start thinking about how a seemingly bad, quote unquote, bad situation could be an opportunity or could be a gift. So that's the sage perspective. And then if we talk about the 5 sage powers, I'll just go through each of them quickly to see how these powers can also help you to get to the place that you actually want to go. And actually, out of these 5 powers and the sage perspective, any of these 6 could help you to get out of that saboteur perspective and into a more sage perspective. And so the first power is called empathize. And this is the ability to empathize with yourself and with others. And in this case, perhaps let's start with self. And generally, we always want to start with ourselves. And this empathize is really kind of an all-encompassing power that encompasses emotions like compassion, unconditional love, gratitude, right? So in this case is perhaps asking yourself, hey, what's the most loving thing that I can say to myself right now, given that I am in this situation, right? Could it be that acknowledging that I've done my best, right? Even though I haven't been promoted or haven't gotten to the next level, but I really have done my best. Or perhaps recognizing yourself for the things that you have gained through this experience, maybe the skills that you have learned, even in the current level, rather than having to get to the next level, right? Have you actually learned a lot in this level that you can recognize yourself for and celebrate for? Right. And maybe empathizing with others. In this case, sometimes I also see this blaming of others or maybe blaming of the organization for putting them in this situation. So in this case, could you also empathize with the people that are involved, why they might not have been able to help you to get to the next level? So that's that empathize power. Next is the explore power, which is being very curious about the situation, finding out all the information that you can. And this curious, I mean curious without judgment. So could you really find out, what has happened that has caused you not to be able to get promoted or get to the next level? Could there be some internal factors within yourself and also external factors, right? And to get really objective about all the different factors that could have caused this situation to happen. And when I say without judgment, is a lot of times when we're looking at internal factors, we start feeling bad for ourselves. That's not what this exercise is about. This is about being objective. Now, because if you are being very objective and curious, you could have said, you know what, actually, the truth is I haven't put my hand up, right? Or I haven't been assertive enough, or I haven't gotten on those high visibility projects that would allow me to get promoted. And so by being curious about that, that brings us to the next sage power, which is innovate, which is then coming up with some creative solutions that can address this problem. So, solutions or things that you haven't done in the past, right? So a solution here could be, in my previous example, is if you feel like you haven't gotten on those high visibility project. So is there an opportunity now to put your hand up to say, hey, I want to get on that next really high visibility project? Right? Being really proactive and assertive about it. Or could it be a situation, maybe you've explored and you realize, hey, I haven't had a sponsor in the company that would really stand up for me to get promoted. So now here's an opportunity for me to seek out a sponsor, or maybe find a mentor to ask him or her what I can do differently in this situation to get promoted. Right? So here is about, putting that thinking cap on and really brainstorm on all the possible ways and solutions that you can take on to help you to get where you want to go. So that's the innovate power. And then the navigate power, this is about making a decision that is aligned with who you are and what your values are. And so this is about, out of all these solutions that I have innovated on, which one do I want to take a decision on, right? Maybe you have these different possibilities of getting on a high visibility project, finding a sponsor, finding a mentor, and you say, right now, I want to prioritize this finding a sponsor because I realize this is such an important aspect in my company. And then that's what you decide to do. Right. And then once you make this decision, and none of these decisions are final, a lot of these can be iterative, right? Maybe you decide, right now, my focus is getting a sponsor. And then you say, hey, I want to focus on this for a little bit. And then maybe next, I want to get on that high visibility project. Or maybe you want to, take multiple actions at the same time. But this navigate power is about making that decision. Or maybe you're making the decision between, do I focus my energy on doing these things within my current company? Or do I want to actually say, hey, I've exhausted all my options here in this company and I want to look outside? And that's a perfectly valid answer as well. Or maybe it's not to get to the next another job and another company, but actually to start your own business, right? To make this an opportunity for you to do that. And that could be a decision as well. But that's the navigate power, is for you to make that decision. And in this case, the really important thing is understanding who you are and what is important to you, what your values are, and what your priorities are, and really be clear and honest about that. And I'll shoot another video about this because I find a lot of people having difficulty with that priority or with that clarity of what is important. Now, the final step, or the final stage power after you've made the decision, is called activate. Is basically activating, taking action, especially clear-headed and laser-focused action on what you have decided that you will do. And here, the challenge that I see is this saboteur creeping in again. So we said the first step is to recognize the saboteur and then do PQ reps and shift to the sage. But once you're in a sage and then decide to take action, the saboteurs can come up again. Right? Because as you are, for example, let's say you are deciding to get on this high visibility project and you've tried a few things and you still haven't been able to get on this project. Right? Then your saboteurs will come up again and say, oh, how come this is so hard? Right? Poor me, or oh, this is so bad. Right? Your hyperachiever saying, oh, how come I really need to get there and yet I can't. Right? So here, as you're activating on these decisions, is really about continuously catching the saboteur and continue to label when the saboteurs come up and when a thought and a feeling is coming from a saboteur rather than your sage, your true self. And anytime they come up, basically, do PQ reps, like the same 3 steps, and then shift to the sage and get back to, hey, this is the decision I made. Maybe give yourself a time frame of how long you will try, right? Maybe you say, hey, I want to try this for at least 3 months or 6 months before I give up, right? Rather than, hey, the first obstacle that I see, I'm going to start getting into the saboteur mode again. All right, so hopefully you found this a little bit helpful in terms of some tips and tools to help you to navigate through this challenge of if you feel like you haven't been able to get promoted or haven't been able to advance to the next level in your career. And what are some things you can do using this mental fitness framework? And so again, label the negative feelings and emotions as saboteurs. And second is to do some PQ reps. And then third is to shift to your sage and use that sage perspective and the 5 sage powers. And if you have liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel so that you'll get notified next time I put out another video. And I would love to hear your comments below on whether you found this helpful and what are some things that you're struggling with now and what other topics you would like to hear about, because I would love to make videos that will resonate with the challenges or the concerns that you have right now. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.